It was quite simply one of the most anticipated court hearings in recent memory. The U.S. Supreme Court today tackling the vexing issue of same-sex marriage in the United States, trying to determine if states can refuse to allow gay couples to get married and whether they can refuse to recognize same-sex marriages that were legally performed in other states. I had a seat in the courtroom in the Supreme Court for that hearing today, and at the center of today's arguments, a Michigan same-sex couple fighting for equal protection and a West Michigan attorney fighting to define marriage.
Straight already.
As the demonstrations raged outside,
Gloria, I am married. This is my wife. I am married.
More thoughtful deliberations were underway inside. Justices Roberts and Kennedy wondering what defines marriage.
You're not seeking to join the institution. You're seeking to change what the institution is. The fundamental core of the institution is the opposite sex relationship, and you want to introduce into it a same-sex relationship.
This definition has been with us for millennia, and it's very difficult for the court to say, oh, well, we know better.
In the 2.5-hour oral arguments, 8 of the 9 justices questioned lawyers on both sides of what many see as the civil rights battle of our time.
I think what we talked about today is that you can love your neighbor no matter what their sexual orientation is, what choices they make about their life, and still have a disagreement about what marriage means. And the question is, who gets to decide the meaning of marriage? Is it people acting through the democratic process, or is it the federal courts?
With the decision due in June, observers say however the court decides, the debate will continue.
All of the plaintiffs through Michigan, Tennessee, Ohio, and Kentucky, it's been an honor, and hopefully we're on the right side of history, and our kids will now have equal protection.
The court, absolutely, it's their job to make sure that every individual's liberty and equality is protected regardless of state laws.
And that's what court observers say we need to pay attention to when that opinion comes down in June. How will it be written and what will be said? Reporting from Washington, D.C. tonight, I'm Brian Sterling. Marley?
You know, Brian, it is truly wonderful to have you in the courtroom, the only reporter from West Michigan there. What is your take on where the justices stand on this issue? Because now we have to sit and wait until June to see what the final outcome will be.
It seemed like in court today, and it was a privilege to be in the courtroom, I could see the justices, the way they reacted, the body language, and some of the questions that they were asking the lawyers involved in this litigation. I think what's going to come down to, do the justices have the stomach to change the Constitution or to consider that the Constitution would be altered if they allow same-sex marriage? On the other hand, can they allow states to simply not recognize legally valid marriages in other states? So it poses a conundrum, but you wonder if they won't find some wiggle room with the two different aspects of this case. Will they try to seek some middle ground out in that opinion? Marley?
Right, Brian. And such an historic decision being made right now in our country. What do the justices appear to be willing to make that wiggle room, or are they hard fast on what they've already decided? Are they willing to be open and listen to both sides?
I think that's the million-dollar question. I think a lot of people thought that Justice Kennedy maybe was allowing some wiggle room for himself, but the other wild card may be the Chief Justice Roberts, who has surprised people in the past with some of his decisions. But ultimately, it might come down to Kennedy here, who has signaled in the past his willingness to allow something like this to happen. So we'll have to see again how this opinion is written and what kind of pressure that they will put on the states if indeed they decide to choose one over the other of these two arguments that they're looking at.